This severe, oh my god, this severe weather outbreak just took a massive turn in events for Wednesday, tomorrow, which is June 17th. They just issued a huge moderate risk of severe weather throughout the entire, in almost all of central Illinois and parts of the far western Indiana, stretching out to central. This will mainly, I'm not going to do that. This will mainly include Peoria, Springfield, Champaign, Hoopeston, Kankakee, and Lincoln, Illinois, and then Lafayette, Kokomo, and then maybe parts of Warsaw, Indiana. And then we have a big enhanced risk that they did end up moving. Instead of it being out here, they did end up moving it down farther south. So now a bunch of areas like these are no longer in an enhanced risk. And I'm honestly surprised that they issued a moderate up here. I was honestly, yesterday after I made the video, I noticed some big events leading to big severe weather outbreaks and a huge outbreak up here. So I was honestly personally thinking that they would issue a moderate risk down here and up here. So we do have our one up here. And then we have a big slight risk of severe weather throughout a lot of the Ohio Valley, Midwest, Northern Plains area, and then back into the Central Plains. Then we have a big marginal risk that's stretching all the way up to the Northern Plains as well, Central Plains down towards southern Oklahoma. And we have another marginal down here mainly for our tropical storm 1 that has just developed and ended up making its way up this way. And it is currently in Mississippi with multiple, if we go to radar, multiple flash flood warnings and flash flood discussions are in effect. And then we have just a big convective risk of most of the northern plains, like all the way down towards the southern and maybe parts of the east coast up all the way up here in the Great Lakes. When we look at the tornado risk, I was just watching Max. I don't think we're surprised if this gets updated to a 30% SIG 3. This is looking at a big day of severe weather for Springfield, Lafayette, Peoria. And then we have another risk in here. Not sure what these. This will be a 10% SIG 2 tornado risk for the yellow dashed lines. And then we have a day 2 tornado risk of 5% out all the way out here, which is still a decent tornado risk. And then we have just our day 2 slight 10% tornado risk for these parts. And then we look at winds. This is going to be a big day for big high winds up to 80, 90 mile an hour. We have a big high risk of winds stretching from Chicago down to St. Louis, Indianapolis, through the Lake of the Ozarks and the Ozark Mountains. So be unaware for high winds. Then we have a big slight chance of high winds stretching all the way throughout the Central Plains in Kansas to Kansas City, back down towards the Ozark Mountains and the Lake of the Ozarks again, back up to Indianapolis, Detroit, Davenport, and St. Louis. Then we have a big, no, that's the slight. This is okay. Then we have another smaller slight chance stretching all the way back down through the central to southern plains. And we also have a big day of wind down here with winds reaching up to almost 100 miles an hour with our tropical storm 1 that was formed in the Caribbean in the Gulf over here that moved its way up this way. And then we look at hail. We're going to have some big hail, mainly in the Davenport, Peoria, Burlington, Galesburg, Dixon, Quincy. Mainly those areas. And then we have a slight chance of winds in this area stretching all the way down to Kansas City, Ozark Mountains, Lake of the Ozarks, back down towards the Central Plains in maybe parts of the Ohio Valley towards Detroit. Then we have a smaller slight chance over here stretching all the way back down towards Oklahoma and up towards closer to the northern plains and all of the Ohio Valley. If we go through Thursday, we do have a slight chance of severe weather. Well, all the way out through these areas, including New York, back up towards New England, all the way back down towards Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, just all those states. And then a big marginal risk. Not even going to say anything about the marginal risk, and then a big convective risk all throughout these areas. Today, we do have 2 slight chances. I'm not expecting a live today. Tomorrow, 100% I think I am. But we do have a slight risk over here and a slight risk over here. This one over here will mainly cover Des Moines and central Iowa. And this one will mainly cover Grand Rapids, Fort Wayne, Lafayette, and the Indianapolis in Indiana. And maybe a little bit of the Ohio Valley up north. And we have a bunch of marginal risk for today. One being over here in Chicago, in Detroit, stretching back down towards Indianapolis and Kentucky. And we have another marginal risk, including Davenport, the southern Minnesota, South Minneapolis, and then some northern parts of Missouri. Another one way up north in the northern plains up here, including North and South Dakota and Montana. Another marginal risk all the way down here, including the central plains and maybe parts of the Ozark Valley like Springfield and Joplin, Missouri, Branson even, and then Fayetteville, Tulsa, not quite Oklahoma, but they probably will extend this down towards Dallas towards the evening time. Then we do have a big marginal risk for our tropical storm 1 that has formed for the Florida, Jacksonville, and the New Orleans. And the tornado is mainly going to be up here in the Indiana, southern Michigan area with a 5% tornado risk. And then we have a slight 2% tornado risk from our tropical storm down here. So there could actually be a tornado outbreak today from this up here. And of course our tropical storm down here. If it got stronger, there would be a higher chance of tornadoes. And we have a 15% chance of high winds in the Indiana, northern Ohio, and then southern Michigan, with a whole bunch of slight chances out over here. And then one down here in Florida, as this tropical storm is making weird. So it's like up here right now, and then they're expecting it to go like this, straight back down into the Atlantic. So I don't know. But the hail, so we have 2 spots of 15% hail threats, with one being in the Indiana and southern Michigan, another being in central Iowa. Then again, we have a bunch of slight chances throughout these areas. I'm surprised we don't even have... Never mind, I'm not surprised. This is hail, not wind. So then we're mainly going to be looking at this with the tornado risk. A high, very extremely high tornado risk for today. If we look at radar, we do have a bunch of thunderstorm warnings already up here. And look at these flash flood warnings from our tropical storm. So this tropical storm formed out here and went up this way. And now they're expecting it to go back down towards Florida. That's why there is marginal risk of severe weather in Jacksonville and the northern Florida and the Panhandle. If we do look, this is what's left of our tropical storm. Go up here. I was expecting you to kind of see a swirl with a eye. There is an eye that is right here. This is the eye right here. It's kind of all broken up. If we go here, you can kind of still see that eye. It's just all kind of just broken apart. But this was the eye over here. It's all broken up as it hit land. I don't know. But then there's a bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings up here. One in Canada, in Toronto. And we have a bunch up here for some hail. Whoa. one's up here for some big hail, mainly going to be some ping pong ball size hail up to that and 60-mile-an-hour winds, and then some down here towards Detroit, and then we have some up here in Wisconsin, just Wisconsin, and we do have some in Canada. But that's all for today. So you will see this later. I am hoping to go live maybe today, but definitely tomorrow. There will be a scheduled live, I'm sure. But thank you for watching. This is the Severe Weather outlooks for today, mainly the big Midwest. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.